Well, all right. Give some seconds, some minutes for everyone to come in. All right, everyone. So today I'm actually live, both on YouTube and also here on Instagram. So it's a double live, I guess, but it's fun to try stuff. But yeah, as you might know, I'm going to be covering those 3 ideas that I post every week, and it'll be the last week that I do 3 because I have gotten a lot of requests, or not requests, but comments that 3 was a bit much, was a bit too much, and so yeah, it seems like I'll be doing just 1 a week, so it's a bit more manageable for everyone. But this week will be the last week that I do the 3 that I just posted for this week. So I'll just basically cover, the details of these 3 licks, ideas, phrases, so that if there's any questions or any doubts from the YouTube videos or the Instagram videos, then it'll be easier to know what's going on. And also you can replay at least the YouTube one. I'm not sure if you can replay the Instagram one. So let's just dive right in, right? This week, the first one was the Stephane Grappelli minor swing first phrase, which I think is just a beautiful little phrase to learn. Quite challenging on guitar, honestly. It's obviously a fingering that comes from violin, so the different tuning is going to influence the fingering. But I think usable quite the same. And of course, we're in A minor. So let's look at the phrase first, all in its entirety, and then we'll break it down, right? And here it is. Okay, so you can use this really, or at least parts of it, from the A minor, right, to the D minor, and then all the way through the E7. And essentially, of course, we're using that A minor, natural or harmonic, depending. But it seems like it's just half steps using the harmonic. I mean, the natural minor of A minor, right? So, and I recommend, I use the position here at the 12th fret. You can also use, a different octave. Phrase is quite easy to understand, even in different octaves. But so that first part, right? We have this little half step into into E, and then you have this interval, which is a major 7 interval, and then you go right into the. So this already in and of itself, I think, is a nice little variation off of A minor. You have this half step, which creates that little bit of a approach feel to the phrase, right? So not just A minor strict, but half step here, and then it goes straight into A minor, the whole arpeggio, right? So, right. So right from the get-go, you can really use this phrase, in other A minor situations. And you have a little bit of a repetition. But this is all straight from the A minor arpeggio, A scale, however you would call it, and very usable. Very easy to adapt and to implement into any A minor situation. Then it comes back. back, and then it's got this little bend here. So that's the whole first part. Not too much to really uncover here. It's just the use of the A minor arpeggio. You want to be comfortable with the original, let's say, ingredient, in this case, the A minor scale arpeggio, and then from there see how or what use is made of it. And again, got the half step approaches, and then off to the whole arpeggio, right? Half step bend here, then all the way to the end of that. Now, the really interesting and more complicated part of this whole phrase lick happens now, where we have this stretch of, wow, many frets. I would say, what is it? 13th fret all the way to 17, 19, so to 19th. So, and I recommend this pattern right here. So pick downwards, then hammer on if you can, and then your next picking note is going to be that E, right? That way, your last note on the E string will be an upstroke. So and then it finishes here with a diminished arpeggio, right? But this very first one would sound almost more like what a heavy metal or modern, rock player would play. But I guess on violin it must be, I would think, simpler. But you can really learn to basically get that strength, develop that strength in the pinky, and really hammer on and pull off. And then your next picking motion is going to be on that E, on the high E string, right? And so, once again, now if I pick downwards and hammer on and pull off, and then my next note is going to be an upstroke on E, then I can just alternate and not worry about having trouble skipping string, because, right? Then my last note on E will be an upstroke. And then I have this little bend up here again, and then diminished. Finished all the way on that C note. Now, I could play this whole phrase in this lower octave too. Oops, wait, I gotta charge this battery here. Just a second. Losing my. Here we go. Sorry, right back. Make sure my battery's plugged in. So I was saying I can play this also on a lower octave. And it might be a little simpler. And it's always a good exercise that I like to do. Whatever phrase, for the most part, any phrase or any lick or however what you want to call it that I learn, I try to learn it in different octaves and in different positions, just so I kind of have the option to use it not only in once, only in one way, right? So it's a good exercise to say, okay, and here's the minor arpeggio, right? Then here, that whole, so I would go from basically 10th fret all the way to 16th, which is a huge leap, but maybe for some of you it might be attainable. At the same time, and then diminished. But this whole hammer on pull off is going to be the hardest part, I guess, of this whole phrase, or as we would call it. And maybe something not quite used in gypsy jazz, but still a good exercise that you can use and still a good habit to really develop that strength. To be able to hammer on and pull off in such a large sort of position. And of course, like I said, something obviously unique, in this case, the violin. You're probably more heavy metal players play something like this than somebody in the jungle. But why not? Have all your fingers functioning. It's a good little addition to your potential phrasings, or whatever you call it, right? So, but once again, I prefer the higher octave. Then here it is. And that's the phrase off of that very first part of the Stephane Grappelli minor swing solo. So iconic after Django solo. And I just love the way this solo, I mean, I love all of Stephane's solo, but especially this very first entry, I think, is so powerful and so simple. It's something I love about Stephane Grappelli. He's so elegant and so simple, but yet so musically strong in his statements, let's just say, right? I mean, just a very simple half step. And then it's all minor, A minor. So creatively and musically placed. Right? So then this little thing here. Once again, remember to downstroke the first one. At least I recommend if you're going to play in the Django style of picking. Downstroke on the first note, on the first F here. Then you're going to hammer on and pull off. Then it's going to be all alternates, but your next note is going to be an upstroke on E, and then so that then you can just keep going. Your last note here on the E string will be an upstroke, right? Then bend, then diminished. Of course, don't hesitate. If you have questions, I would recommend writing them here on YouTube. If you're on the live here on YouTube, so that then I can see the comments. I'm trying for the first time dual lives here, both on YouTube and on Instagram. Just curious how it goes here. I don't make much lives on Instagram. I figured I have my phone here and my computer there. Why not try? But do tune in if you're interested to watch these again, or something's not clear, you want to ask a question. Then I recommend using the YouTube side of things for that. So that would be the phrase, the minor swing Grappelli. The second transcription I had for this week was an intro, was a full intro by Bireli of the Nature Boy tune that he recorded with Jimmy Rosenberg many years ago. I did a full transcription of that on YouTube. You can find it. And of course, if anybody's interested, reach out. I do have it somewhere here. Send me your email. But the intro is, I think, just a beautiful, besides being a beautiful intro, there's so many takeaways that I can apply then to my playing or to your playing that you can really apply. Let's hear it first. So it starts out like this. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to tune, if you play after the record, you're going to have to tune your guitar a bit lower. I don't know if they tuned it lower or if they, something was changed in post-recording, but it'll be like that tuning. So anyway, today my guitar's tuned, so. And then the whole vamp, the entry of the song. So trying to play it a bit slower and a bit more careful than what I would probably, or of course, it's not going to sound as good as the original. I'll do our best, but just to go through the basics, right? The tune is in E minor, so everything that applies to the E minor, you know, tonality or key, will apply here. So we start out with this little, and this is the shape that usually would be reserved for A flat 7 sharp 5. But in reality, what's going on is that it's a B7 sharp 5. But as you know, altered chords, altered dominants can be moved in minor thirds. So if you move it down here, for example, it's still a B7 altered chord, except at this point it would be a 9 flat 5. So B7 9, B7 9 flat 5. But if I take that 4-note chord and I just move it in minor thirds, that's something that you can always use in jazz music in general. And so I think that's really the use of it here. Then we go up to play over B7, a B7 altered, right off of that chord. And this scale could be a diminished scale, but it's essentially just the high end of that. Or it could be, minor melodic off of C, many things, but essentially we're playing, always going to keep in mind the harmony behind what you're doing. And in this case, it's B7 altered, right? And then we transition over to this beautiful chord, which is a minor major chord. In other words, a minor chord. Here it is, I hope you can see it. That has a major 7. So technically, if I were to bring this back down, it would be E minor 9. But, Pietro, grazie, thank you. So you have that E minor 9, but because I'm playing a major 7, I just have a much, I don't know if to call it richer or just interesting sound. And this is a beautiful chord to play. You can also add, if you wanted to, by barring, you could add the 4th or 11th. They are interchangeable, I guess you'd probably call it E minor delta 11. We could get fancy, sorry, with names, but you get the idea. It's essentially an E minor chord with a major 7, not the major 7, not a flat 7 as you would have flat 7 and minor 7 chords, right? And then so moving forward, recapping, D7, E minor, and then what's going from the E minor, it'll go harmonically to the A7, and that A7, right, is going to be implied with that flat 5. In other words, the chord that's being implied would be the A7 flat 5. But in this case, all that's played is the root and the flat 5. So there's a lot of sort of like an impressionistic sort of approach where, not always everything is being played. Something sort of hinted at, right? So like this passage here. And then a D is played there. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or not, but it sounds great. And then this chord is played. And this again is under the umbrella of A7. What do we have here? We basically have a tritone substitution because it's E flat major but I'm going to be playing the A on the bass, and I'm going to be playing the high 13th here, which is F sharp, right? So I get this chord. Now this is a beautiful option, I guess, for A7 or A7 altered, where you have that again tritone. You see this triad here. This triad belongs to the E flat major, but I don't play E flat. I play A on the bass, and I add on the high end. I add the F sharp, so I get this kind of mysterious sound, which is just the A7, you know, tritone sub flat, and the relative to A, I have that 13, 6th or 13th substitution. So once again from the top, E7 already altered, E7 altered up here, playing a B, going into E minor delta, E minor major 7, A7, A7 altered, okay, and then after this I'm going to go to A minor, which is just a passing chord really, to then land on F sharp minor 9, sorry, yes, correct, F sharp minor 9, which leads into B7 with a flat 9 and of course another, basically a repeated flat 9, right? Because I have this one, sorry, the sharp 5, my bad, sharp 5 and flat 9. Flat 9 would be your C relative to F sharp. That would be your flat 5. So it's played up here with this chord voicing. Then I also have the high G on the high end, which is nothing but my flat 9. Okay, and you can see how on the melody side, I have this sort of half-step approach, which just creates sort of a logical movement, but it's really a 2/5 into E minor, right? Because F sharp minor 7 basically, but there'll be a 9, and then there's basically B7 altered, or yeah, flat 9, and then I'm going to go into that A7 again, but this time I'm going to have a bass of E. And then my very last chord is going to be that E minor 9, you know, flat 3rd minor 9, and then of course this E is going to be the A is the 4th or 11th of the E. So it's minor 9, 11, or minor 9 sus, however you want to call it. There's a beautiful, beautiful chord. And this is something you might want to learn, because you have these two chords, so A7 altered with the tritone of E flat, but you can still play the E in the bass. And then you move over to minor 9 sus, or E minor 9. And then the very last thing is the vamp that we played earlier, off of that first chord, which is the E minor 9, 11. And then it goes over to a bit of a challenging chord to play, but looks a bit more hard. It looks a bit harder than what it actually is to play after a while, which is F major 7. I know this is going to look a little crazy, but basically you're taking this, with your pinky, you're going to take here at the 5th fret, the major 7 triad, and with your index, you're going to take the bass. So it looks like a big stretch. It is a big stretch, but not impossible to play, right? So then you have this little thing, which is a great idea for an intro in any E tune. So there's this little ending scale. So I know I kind of breezed through this intro. I'm going to go slowly again one more time. And then, of course, if there's questions or any doubts. But as you can see, there's nothing from a harmony point of view. There's nothing crazy. It's just beautifully assembled and logically assembled. But once again, we have that little intro. Nice little B7 altered. Then up here, that's already in B7. Going to E minor delta, or E minor major 7. I'm already in A7, sorry, yeah. And then here is that A7, which is really E flat major, but with a bass of A and a singing note of F sharp, which is the 13 of A, 6. And I'm going to go to A minor 7, or A minor 7 sus, basically. Which will lead into F sharp 9, into B7 altered or flat 9, with the G on the high end. Then E minor, first 9, but with the A7, the altered A7 on the high end. I've got that sort of full strum motion going. And then I transition to the E minor 9. So this is a nice little thing you can always use, really, A7 to E minor. Or you can just use it as 2 versions of E minor, but just beautiful, mysterious kind of sounding chords. And then the very last thing, as we said, was the rhythmic pattern. And that does it for the second idea of the week, this full intro. I recommend trying to learn it. I know some positions and some shapes are going to be a bit challenging if you've never played them, but there was a point in which I wasn't able to play them either. But you can certainly learn to do it. Just kind of take one shape at a time. Of the ones that might be less known. The E minor major 7 might be a lesser known chord. This chord might be a lesser known chord. Of course, this one. Try to get them into your repertoire. Of course, the F major 7 here. A bit crazy, but it's doable. So that one. All right. The very last one is, I would say, if you're trying to learn downstrokes or rest strokes, the gypsy jazz sort of picking technique, there are really not many great exercises or licks as this one. This is just sort of seems to be designed, to really learn your downstrokes and your rest strokes. And it's called Gypsy Summer by Stochelo Rosenberg. Just, he plays it at ridiculous speeds, but we don't have to. It's still beautiful, even slow. So. that's the essence of it. We're going to look at it slowly into its detail. So the very first position is this E minor add second. So if you had a basic E minor chord, you would have this chord right here. But now what happens is this E on the second octave is going to become F sharp, right? And typically I would play this with first and third finger. But because of the way the rest of the phrase or lick develops, I'm pretty sure, but I would recommend either way playing it instead with second and fourth. Because I'm going to need my index finger right after this first part to play this A and this G notes right up here, right? So if I play it like this, then I would have to, change position, and it just wouldn't be very comfortable or doable in real-time speed. So what you want to do is second and fourth finger and keep that index free to play and hammer on, basically. And all of these are going to be downstrokes and of course rest strokes. So you want to take this as slowly as you need to in order to really get the feeling of being able to rest stroke and downstroke on each of the notes. Right? So now the next chord, chord I would say is that C major 6 really. You're going to put your third finger on C, and you're going to have index on E and second finger here on A. And even here I'm going to leave my pinky open because at some point at the end of this I'm going to hit that D string, that D note, sorry. And again, as you can see with my right, it's all still rest strokes and downstrokes. Ehi la Ema, grande. So come fare? Right. Grande Ema, non so se funziona o non funziona. It's my first sort of live. Hey la grande Ema, un abbraccio. That's my friend Ema Pilloni, Emanuele from Rome. So anyway, so as I was saying, all of these are downstrokes, and you're going to go through that E minor, Davide, ciao bello, all the way to the C major, and all of it is going to be downstrokes and rest strokes. Just get used to that first. And then you have a really cool thing that you can really use anywhere, in E minor, which is just B7 basically to C7, back to B7 and to E, which is 5, which is really dominant of E. So, but what's happening here is that there's an addition. But so the core of it is going to be, so if you take B7, right, you'd have this triad right here. But in this case, I'm going to put my pinky on the high B. So I have this triad right here. And I'm going to just be changing the bass notes or the bass lines this way. I'm going to go from B, A, G, F sharp. Then I'm going to do the same half step up of C. And for this position, of course, on the second of those, I'm going to have to bar with my first finger here on the second fret. So, and then back to B, where I have a bit of the luxury of the open string. And then I'm going to have A minor, E minor. Finished here on the fifth fret. Okay, so again, E minor, add 2, C major, 6, B7, C7, back to B, and then E minor. And then here, of course, I would down, up, down, down, up, down, down. So you essentially have like 2 or 3 upstrokes in the whole passage, but the key here is to really become comfortable with your right hand breaststrokes and downstrokes. And also, really, these positions are not so easy on the left hand, especially this one where I'm going to have to then, hammer down with my first. Then here I'm going to have my same thing with my pinky. And here I've got this bit of a wide position here where my pinky's up on the high B. Same thing for C. And that very last page. That really wraps it up for the 3 ideas of this week. Like I said, it will be the last time that I have 3 in a week. I think most people, it seems like that's a bit too much to handle. So I'm going to scale back to 1 so we can really focus, concentrate on 1 idea per week. Should be more manageable for everyone. Don't forget to check on the YouTube side of things. I've got some links that you might be interested in. On Tuesday nights, I do a free live Zoom if there's any questions about anything. And also there's a link to the written transcriptions of these ideas, connected to all the other ones I've done. But if you want any of these week's transcriptions, look into the description of my YouTube video live so that you can then get the written, if you need the written transcriptions, access those. Don't forget my most recent, or my recent ebook, which is Gypsy Jazz Guitar Mastery. It's really, mostly geared for beginners or people who are just making their first approach to Gypsy Jazz. We're kind of looking at some very basic fundamentals. Thank you for tuning in. And Jeremia Grande, Claude, bonjour. Just kind of seeing everyone now. Hey, thank you. Saying thank you, Samuelillo. Thanks everyone, of course, who tuned in. I'll be trying to be as regular as possible with these lives and all of this stuff. So tune in if you're looking for ideas, ways to expand your vocabulary, ways to improve your technique. It's most of what I focus on. And be on the lookout. We just finished a weekend full immersion workshop with Benji Winterstein. I'm going to be looking to host another one relatively soon. Also, this year is year 10 of the Under the Tuscan Sun camp. It's 4 days, and it's violin, guitar, and upright bass. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait already. But I'll be on the lookout for that. I'll be giving some news soon. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Any questions, write them below in the description, or I'll see you in my Zoom on Tuesday, and look forward to seeing you on a new video soon.